everybody, welcome back to the Claremont Classic Garage. We've got our favorite subject, or one of our favorite subjects in the shop today, the old 2009 Dodge Caliper, and it's got a couple of lights on. So you can see here we got the tire pressure light on, which is probably just because over time tires will slowly lose pressure, and it got really cold and triggered the light, I think. But we'll check the tires, make sure there's no screws in them. This time the light is for the, you can see there, the right front flashing. So we'll check the right front. And there it is. You can see it flashing. Oh, it's going back and forth because I got the tailgate open because I got my little friends in here with me. They like to sleep in the car while I'm working on it. And we got the money light on. And it's not just on because it's sitting here with the ignition on and the engine not running. The money light is actually on. So we're going to get the scanner hooked up and see what it says. I hope it's not the EVAP code again. Oh, that went on for a long time till we finally got that sorted out. So anyway, we're going to plug in and see what we can find out. So I know this screen is so bright, all you can see is a bright light. But anyway, we got the scanner plugged in. And here we go. P0137. Oxygen sensor return circuit is shorted to ground. Oxygen sensor signal circuit is shorted to ground. Press thing to continue. Oxygen sensor circuit low. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Dodge Enhanced. Whoops. And see if we get any more information there as to which sensor it might be. It's got an upstream and a downstream. Give it a second. There we go. Yeah, O2 sensor. Oh, O2 sensor 1-2 circuit low or 1 of 2. I'm not really sure what that means. So you know what we're going to do? We're just going to change both of them. So what we're going to do is fire the old proverbial parts cannon at this thing. And hopefully, most of the time, you get lucky and it's what the problem is. But there's still that dark chance that we could have a wiring problem somewhere in the harness. This car is 15 years old now. It's been through 15 Canadian winters. That salt gets in and messes stuff up. But at the same time, all I have is this. I don't want to call it a crappy Innova scanner because it's been good to me. It's helped me out of a lot of jams, but it's not the kind of diagnostic equipment that you'd have at a dealership or even like a commercial garage. They'd have a scanner with much more functionality than this thing. This gets me through, but it basically just kind of points you in the general direction. So that's where I've decided. We've got an oxygen sensor code. The easiest course of action is to just fire the parts cannon, and we'll put 2 oxygen sensors in it. They are both the original ones, you know. They're 15 years old. They've got over 300,000 kilometers on them. I'm banking that that's probably what the problem is. And I don't really want to, even if I knew it was one or the other, I'd still change them both. That's, to me, that just makes the most sense. Anyway, before we get to the sensors, we're going to have a look at that right front tire, see if we see anything. And we'll go around and just double check the air pressure in all of them. So one thing I forgot when I was looking at that display on the dash, for some reason, whoops, our winter tires here have the sensors in them, but they're not registered to the car. I don't get the thing out when I switch them back and forth and change the sensors all the time. So, it gets confused when I put these on. It reads the pressures and displays them on the dash, but they're usually in the wrong order. And I forgot that. So even though it told me the right front was low, it's actually the right rear that's down. And it was down. We run these tires at 32 PSI. It shows the metric equivalent on the dash in kilopascals, but I run them at 32. This guy was down to 25, and the rest of them were around 31. So we're going to pull it off and just have a fast look at it, make sure there's not a drywall screw in it or something. And these two, of course, don't give a damn about any of this monkey business. They just want to know when their car's going to be fixed so we can go for a ride. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with the valve stem up, just so you've got a reference point, right? You can feel it in your fingers when it comes back around. And we're just going to slowly go around the tire and make sure we don't see anything obvious sticking out of it. You do this long enough, you're going to find some interesting things stuck in tires, I'll tell you. We've all seen the pictures on the internet of like half-inch impact guns stuck through them. Stuff that goes through the tire and then right through the rim. I don't see anything untoward. Okay, now, this is a very slow leak. It's literally taken this tire about, what is it now, March? 4 months to go from 32 PSI down to, it was at, I think, 25 or 26. So it took it 4 months to lose 6 PSI. So that, to me, it is probably most likely very, very slight seepage around the bead somewhere. But we're going to check the valve stem just to be sure. And that's easy enough to do. We just get some soapy water. Yeah. So you can just get literally some dishwashing soap and some water and mix it up together. Or you can get a thing of this stuff. You can get this, this is for plumbers and gasketers. You can get this at any hardware store or home improvement joint. And we'll just dab a little bit right on there to make sure the core's not leaking. And we'll get some around the valve stem itself. Make sure we don't see any big bubbles. And we don't. So we'll just close it up and forget about it. We'll keep an eye on it. If the light comes back on again anytime soon, well, then we'll have to just assume we've got some kind of a problem and see what we can do about it. All right, wheels back on. We'll get it torqued up. And after our first little drive up to town and back or whatever, we'll just double check it. Alrighty, now we can get to work and get these oxygen sensors changed. You can see here, this is the upstream one. This is the one that actually runs the engine. It'll have 2 oxygen sensors. A V6 or a V8 will sometimes have 4. Or probably most of the time in these days. So basically, both oxygen sensors are the same. They're the same part number, upstream and downstream. So this one runs the engine. You can see here it's upstream of the catalytic converter, and it reports back to the computer what's going on in the engine, and the computer adjusts the air-fuel mixture in accordance. The downstream one is on the outlet side of the catalytic converter, and all that does, it compares what's going into the converter to what's coming out and tells the computer that the catalytic converter is working efficiently. That's all it does. So here's one of our new ones. Like I said, they're both the same. And if you're doing this at home, I'm not plugging anybody's product. I buy my parts just like everybody else does. But stuff like this, I will generally stick with, for oxygen sensors, Bosch, NTK, or Nippon Denso. I've used all 3 of them and never had a problem. Today we've got Bosch because the only reason is because I was ordering the stuff. And if you're familiar with ordering on Rock Auto, trying to get all your stuff from the same warehouse for the shipping cost is a fun game to play. And the Bosch ones were in the warehouse that I was buying some other ones from, or some other things from. If it had been NTK or Denso ones, I would have happily got those. So here we've got this, an oxygen sensor socket. So you can see here where it goes over there. It's kind of like a crow's foot, and it, like that. It allows you to get a hold of the oxygen sensor and gives a place for the wire to come out. Now, this is good for putting them in. Sometimes getting them out, you have to, this just isn't enough grab on the thing, and you actually have to cut the wire off and go over top of it with just a proper full 360 degree, like a 7/8 socket, right? We're going to try to get the old one out with this, and we'll see what happens. All right, let's see what happens here. Oh yeah. She's not budging. So what we're going to do, first thing we're going to try, we're going to put a little length of pipe on our ratchet and see if that helps. Well, it's moving. Okay, now, I don't know if that socket's going around because the thing is jumping or it's the sensor actually turning. We're going to find out though. Hard to say. It looks like it's bent the other way now, so maybe it is coming out. Sometimes there's no alternative but to get in there with the torch, you know, and get the thing heated up. The problem with heating it up with the torch is that, you know, you don't always have a lot of room to work with down there, and you may end up setting things on fire that you don't want to set on fire. Yeah, no, the socket's just skipping, so we're going to have to... Oh, wait a minute. No, look at that. Out she comes. Okay. Now, the sensor is stuck in the socket, but we did manage to break it free. That was a close one. There, look at that, we got it. So you can see here, see that's got thread sealant on it. That's why it's stuck in there. So we're gonna have to give this kind of a whack. You can see there how it's crawled up the socket. We'll give it a little whack to get it out of there, and then we can get our new one in. There it is out, and you can plainly see detail for detail. It is exactly the same. This Bosch sensor, this is obviously the OEM sensor, is a Bosch sensor. Look at that. It is absolutely identical to the one we took out. So what we're going to do now is make sure the hole is clean. I'll show you how we do that. They use the same 18 millimeter thread as a spark plug. So you just get a spark plug thread chaser, run it down through the hole, and that'll make sure that the threads are clean, ready to accept our new sensor. Okay, we'll get that thing started in there. There it goes. Man, this thing keeps grabbing my arm because I put remember the relay box? If you've been watching my Dodge Caliber videos, this relay box used to be down in the fender, and it was such a pain in the neck. We relocated it to here, but now it's always in the way. But it doesn't matter. Maybe if I use this arm. There we go. Okay, so there we are. We've chased that down there, and it literally turned in by hand. So we've got no problems at all with that. Our new sensor comes with a cap to protect it, and anti-seize already applied to the threads. We'll go ahead and screw that in, then we'll use our socket to tighten it up. And now we'll just go ahead and tighten it up with our oxygen sensor socket here. Now the one underneath the car will probably be a little more fun to get at, but by the same token, it's probably a lot easier to get at. And down under there, it's a lot easier to get some heat on it. And the last thing we'll do is get her plugged in. And that's the top one down. Done. I'll see you under the car. We'll do the downstream one. Here you can see the downstream oxygen sensor there behind it. This guy up here, there's the upstream one that we just changed. So now here's the downstream one. We'll get on this. I might give just a couple of little whacks on the bung here with a hammer and a punch, and maybe give the sensor itself a couple of wraps and see if we can get it jarred free. Worst case scenario, we'll cut the wire and just put a wrench or a normal socket around it, and it'll come out. This bottom one is in there good. So we've gone to the torch. We're going to warm up the bung a little bit and see if we can get this thing busted free. Hopefully we'll get it out. I warmed up the bung and I was able to crack the thing free with just an open-end wrench. So we're good there, but it's getting tight as it comes out. Might take a little bit more heat. I don't want to damage the thread too badly, you know, because this one down here, the one on the catalytic converter, the thread tends to get a little bit more mucked up than the one at the top, and you can't always get because it is so hot down here, the metal gets kind of work hardened, and it's not quite so easy to get the thread chaser into this bung. But we're going to try our best and do what we can do. I've got it turning, that's the main thing. And once we get it out, we'll just let everything cool off for a spell. Well, we got this guy out, but the threads got pretty messed up. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed. I got to let everything cool off under there, and then we'll run the thread chaser through and hope there's enough bite left for our new sensor. While we wait for the catalytic converter to cool off so we can chase the thread, I'm just going to go around and do a quick check all the fluid levels, check all the lights, wiper blades, stuff like that. I'll see you in a minute. We did manage to get the thread chaser into the bung on the converter, and it seems okay. It went in relatively easy and wasn't all flopping around or anything. So I think we're in good shape. We're going to go screw our new sensor in, and I'll let you know how I make out with that. Well, that's that. All that's left to do is take these dogs for the ride that they're waiting for and make sure our little car is okay. Okay, let's see what happens here. Engine light's still on. Tire light went out. Okay, so I don't really want to clear the engine code because it's going to make all our readies reset, or all our monitors reset. Anyway, hopefully one warm-up cycle and then shut it off and come back later. Hopefully the code will be gone. Alrighty. So here we go. Winter Wonderland. Just got to get it warmed up, so it kind of goes through a warm up and cool down, and then we'll park it in the garage, and hopefully next time we start it up, the code will be gone. It went away once for a day, and then it came back. So we got her up to temperature, made it home, and you can see the light is still on. Does that mean there's still a problem? I don't know. So what we're going to do is shut the car off, open the door and close it. That'll put everything to sleep. And then I'll start it up again and see what happens. And if I grow impatient, I may hook the scanner up to it and clear it and see if it comes back. Yeah, the light is still there. So we're going to go ahead and clear it. Okay, put the ignition on. Let it link up. Is this your vehicle? Yes, it is. Okay, so we are going to clear this code. Erase was successful. So, we're going to go to the, we're going to go now to the Dodge. Oops. Make sure there's nothing there. Let it think. No codes. Okay, so what we're going to do now, good. Okay, we're going to start her up. Okay, now the light is out. And we're going to take it for another, little spin and make sure it doesn't come back on. I mean, it was saying that the sensor was shorted to ground. So I would say that if that condition still existed, our light would come back on pretty much instantly. But we're just going to take a run down to the town line and back and see what happens. I'll tell you something else that I have noticed. This car is really running good now. Oxygen sensors, and it's my fault. Over time, it's not like they stop working, but they react slower and slower and slower. It's like your computer in your house. Over time, it gets slower and slower and slower. And a brand new fresh oxygen sensor is right back. It reacts quickly, and you'll get a better running engine. And I can tell you, this thing is running good. And yes, I need to mention that this may look a little strange given the time of year, but we're filming this in March. So by the time you see it, it's kind of getting shoved down the queue a little bit. By the time you see it, hopefully there'll be leaves on the trees and flowers in the garden. Well, here we are back at the ranch. We'll put her back in the shop. And we got some big snow coming tonight, apparently. So I'll get at least one car out of it. And then once we get in, we're going to plug the scanner back in one last time and see how many of our monitors reset while we are out for our little drive there. If any of them. It might have to wait until the car actually completely cools off. We'll find out. All right, so look at that. It's hard to see this thing in here, but our O2s, the monitor on our O2s is turned green. It's all good. The O2 heaters are green. All that's left is evap and EGR, and that while the car sits and cools off, it'll do its thing. And if we come out once it's cold, those should be green. I don't expect any trouble with those, as they have not been trouble. That's not what it was in here for. Well, that'll do it for that one. Once again, we have managed to defeat the evil money light on the dash of our Dodge Caliber here. I still maintain it's the greatest car ever made. This thing has put up with 300,000 kilometers of wear and tear, my kind of wear and tear. I don't really abuse it, but it earns its keep. It hauls stuff, it pulls stuff. This car's been through the ringer in its 15 years with us. Anyway, I'm done. No more light, no more headache. She's back in service. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you'll come back and see us again. And until then, I'm Kevin saying so long from the Claremont Classic Garage.